Hello, everybody. Let the lips of wisdom be sealed, except to the ears of understanding. And that's kind of the topic of today's video. Is I wanted to talk about what are the ears of understanding? How do they open? What typically happens with this is there's layers. As you go through life, you'll understand everything from a different perspective. Right? When we're a baby, we understand our mother from one perspective. She takes care of us. She feeds us. She clothes me. She comes to me every time I cry. We get a little bit older. Not much changes, but we see a slightly different perspective. Then when we get to the age of, that's mom. I love my mom. She still takes care of me, but I'm a little more independent now. I see her a little differently. We grow into teenagers. Sometimes she can even be the enemy, right? Then you're a young adult, and then you become a mature adult at whatever age you think that might be. That varies for different people. But you come to an understanding. You start to see your mom, your mother, for the human being that she is. And you saw that the way she raised you was probably based off of survival in her own subconscious, her own blueprint. And some of it was acting out of fear. A lot of it was acting out of love. And I'm not saying this is true for everybody. We all have different lives. We all had different parents. Some of us had great parents. I was very fortunate to have an amazing mother. Others not so much. So it's just an example. So you start to see things from a different perspective. You start to see it, you see more of a mystical idealization of something, and then as you grow with and into that thing, or you evolve as a being yourself, you start to see it more for what it truly is. Right? And so all of this magic stuff works exactly that way. That's exactly what magic is. So as you're growing in wisdom, you're gaining more and more of an understanding of how all of this stuff works. And you're starting to see it from a higher perspective. And let's talk about higher perspective for a second. When I say higher perspective, I'm not talking about you're becoming more good and holy and all of that. I'm talking about if you were in the forest and you're lost, you have no idea where you're at, but you decide to climb a tree, and the tree just so happens to be a little bit higher than all the other trees. You get to the top of that tree and you look and you can see, oh, the exit to the forest is just right over there. That's a higher perspective. And so spiritually speaking, mentally speaking, when you open your ears of understanding, which is your hunger for not just knowledge, but wisdom, and you begin to grow. Wisdom is attained through experience. So unless you're moving that knowledge putting it into action, becoming the experimental magician, you'll never have true wisdom around the subject. If you were to, let's say, start reading the old grimoires, let's say the Lesser Key of Solomon, for example, it gets a bad rap. There's a lot of people, oh yeah, don't do that, that. They don't see it for what it is. A lot of the Lesser Key of Solomon is a blind. Raise your hand if you know what a blind is. Good. Glad you do. But I'm going to go ahead and explain it for the couple in the back there that don't really understand what it is. A blind in any sort of magical teaching, any sort of grimoire, any sort of mystical or magical books, is something written in there or taught by a teacher to intentionally trip up the initiate, to intentionally cause you to want to give up and say, nah, that's too complicated. Nah, that's too ridiculous. I mean, I have to wear all white linens all for an entire year straight. I have to wear a sheepskin apron. I have to wear gold jewelry. I have to fast for 42 days. And then I have to collect hair from 3 different breeds of dogs. And bring a live bee's nest as an offering. And that's the only way the ritual is going to work. My friend, that indeed is a blind. Because, I mean, who the hell's going to be able to do that? I guarantee the magician, or whoever wrote that, or whoever's trying to teach you to do this, hasn't done it themselves. So for a newcomer, or for somebody that's not initiated, and they don't have the ears of understanding, and they don't have the wisdom, they don't have skin in the game, they're not going to recognize that that's a blind. They're going to see it, and they're going to drop out. And that's exactly what that's intended to do. It's to keep the dabblers out. It's to keep people that are just seeking a quick little fix, people that aren't on an actual path. It keeps them locked out and away. So anytime you see anything like that, and I've seen it in modern books too, if it looks ridiculous, if it looks like something you probably wouldn't want to do, and that's not to say things like fasting and stuff like that doesn't have its benefit. It certainly does. And I've gone on 4-day fasts, things like that. And it really amplifies things. I can see where it would be very useful in rituals and things like that. But if it looks like something that's probably impossible, it's a blind. But without that higher perspective, without that raising of consciousness, you would never understand that. In fact, you wouldn't even see it. You would open these grimoires up, and you'd do exactly what they're intended to do, get you to close the book and put it back down. Magick is probably one of the most gate-kept things on the planet, other than my favorite music. I don't want people ruining it. I don't want dabblers in my music. I put blinds out there, make people think that's what I listen to. It's really not. But I want to tell you, the fact that you're here, the fact that you're seeking this sort of knowledge out, already tells you that you're on the path. It already tells you that you're a seeker, that your knowledge is expanding, your wisdom is expanding. And when you get to a higher perspective, you really start to understand the world, and you start to understand other people around you. You start to know the good ones from the bad ones. You start to see who the false teachers are. You start to see who, they've got a gigantic following on TikTok, but their words just aren't, there's something off about them. It sounds very shallow, and it looks like they're cosplaying as a magician or a witch, and everybody's drinking the Kool-Aid, right? So if you really want to expand your abilities, be open. That's what I really want to talk about is we talk about what it is, but how do we do it? There's really no simple, there's not a step-by-step program for this. Once you gain the awareness and the consciousness to initiate and to engage in it and to grow in it, that is the program. There's not a book. There's not a manual. There's not a course. There's not a mentorship. There's nothing that's going to do it for you. When the thirst hits, you're going to grab a glass of water and drink. Now, that's not to say that there's not good lessons and bad lessons. It's going to be learned. You might grab a glass of poisoned water from the poisoned well from one of these false teachers, or from one of these grimoires with the blind, and you're not quite there yet, so you start following these crazy steps and you waste 2 years of your time. I've done it. I've followed a lot of false teachers. That's how I am where I am today. There's a lot of value to be gained in following falsehood and learning from your own mistakes, learning that, oh, this person's full of shit. There's also a lot of value in learning from the mistakes of others and getting it right the first time. Foresight teaches gently. Experience teaches harshly. I think that's the word for it. I'm much more of an experienced guy. I will jump in. I will make all the mistakes, and I'll learn from those mistakes. Why? That's just the way that I am. People ask me, how do you have the wisdom that I want to get to your level? I want to get to your level. I say, fuck up. Fuck it all up. You'll get to my level. I would say there are a few things that will help you along your path to really expedite the increase in the amount of knowledge and wisdom that you accumulate, the amount of growth, the amount that you ascend, and the timeline of it. I would certainly say one of the staples is going to be learning the art of trance, learning to get into trance. The reason why is because, at least in my experience, at least in my own personal, definitely not unbiased opinion, maybe my own personal unverified gnosis, trance is the pillar. Trance is the foundation of everything you do in Magick, whether that is growing in wisdom, whether that's growing in your knowledge of the universe, the knowledge of self, whether that is manifesting a multi-million-dollar empire for yourself. Trance is the key to everything. So if you could learn these steps to really get into trance, and I'm talking about follow the steps and train your nervous system to drop into trance easily so that it's not this big chore. I'm talking you could literally be driving like I am and enter a light trance, not so much where you're going to be wrecking and things like that, but train your nervous system to recognize it so there's not resistance. Train your brain to not resist the trance state where it's like, oh, we're going into trance, let's go. And everything you do from there on out is so easy. It is so easy. If you can master trance, if you can master the art of meditation, I'm not talking about sitting there for hours and hours. I'm talking about getting in, getting what you need, and getting back out. Sometimes there is a time and a place for a long meditation. To be honest, I don't do it that much. Because what happens is we're getting our logical mind out of the way. We are removing our logical mind from the equation. And so trance allows us access directly into the subconscious. Trance allows us to go into where the hardwiring is, or maybe the software. Yeah, let's say software, not the hardwiring. That's like your primal stuff, but your software, the learned habits, the traumas, all the things that are keeping you from the gates of wisdom, that are keeping you from actually experiencing a life worth living. All of these things are in the software. You go in and you rewrite the software. Boom. That's how it happens. And so if you can master this trance, by entering the theta gamma sync, you're able to do this. Or let's say you add that to your spells. I'm going to cast a spell. I'm always going into trance. That's the whole thing. Right? I'm going to cast a spell from the trance state versus how I see most people doing it. They're slapping ingredients together, saying a couple magic words, and basically wasting your time, wasting my time, wasting their time. Enter trance, and the entire universe bends to your will. This is an excellent time for me to plug my book. I have a grimoire. It's not a long one. It's as long as it needs to be. But it is a step-by-step guide how I actually get into trance. how I have trained my nervous system to be able to go into this state automatically, engage the theta and gamma brainwaves simultaneously. I have manifested my reality that I currently live in. I've done the things. I've retired from my 9-to-5 career. I am actively helping others each. I'm teaching this stuff as a livelihood now. I'm casting spells, working rituals, and getting powerful results for other people regularly. And it's all because of this one foundational pillar, this one simple approach that can be applied to everything across the board when it comes to magical work. That is linked in the description of The Missing Key to Magic. I highly recommend you pick that up. Or if you prefer the long way, you can do it like I did. Spend years figuring this stuff out. If you have ADHD like I do, you get to play it on hard mode. So for everybody else, I bid thee good luck. Thank you for watching. And we will now go our separate ways until the next video. I'll see you later.